Okay. Hey, everybody, it's Robert Weichelt with EXP. How are you? Welcome to another episode of Weichelt Wednesday. And I've been in the business. I've literally will be celebrating my 35th year in the business this Sunday. And I can't believe how many things I've seen, and it's just fantastic. And the whole time in my career, I've always had mentors. And I've got one of my favorite mentors on the line, Bob Mangold. Thank you for being on, Bob.
No, my pleasure.
And so what we want to do today is we're going to talk about a lot of great tools and nuggets for the agents that are listening to this. The first things I want to know, who's Bob Mangold?
Well, I'm just a good old-fashioned agent who started in the mortgage side of the business versus the real estate side. And quite honestly, got frustrated with dealing with real estate agents who don't return calls and do things like that and said, shoot, why don't I do both things? And so really what I've built over the years, I used to own 2 franchise companies, built them, very, very quickly, had my own mortgage company. So I've worked all phases or sides of the business. And really what I do, now I coach agents on how to become millionaires selling real estate. That's really what it comes down to. So if we simply understood a few fundamental principles, that we could become millionaires in the next 18 to 24 months. Now, that's not like some get rich quick thing. You got to work, you got to bust your butt. But at the end of the day, I show people how to leverage their time so they make the most amount of money with the least amount of work. And we focus on listings only.
That is millionaires. I mean,
millionaires.
That's a lot for an agent that's just kind of stuck in that rut, that wheel of real estate. It's hard for them to actually fathom that, I would imagine.
It is. And here's the thing. Real estate's actually a very, very simple business if you just break it down and you follow the model, right? So 20 some years ago, Gary Keller wrote a book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Went and interviewed the top 50 agents in the industry at that time. If you want a good laugh, go read, just look at some of the marketing strategies we had 20 some years ago, right? It was a hoot. But at the end of the day, he looked for commonality from the top 50, and he found 2 things that they had in common. One was they were all listing agents, and 2, they were tenacious about managing their database. So here's the question. If represents the best of the best, which it did, and let's be honest, if you're watching this, look at your own office, whoever the top producers are, I will bet you 100% that they're all listing agents, and they have a team to work with the buyers. So the blueprint is there. The question is, why are we wasting our time on all this other stuff? Why are we buying all these leads from Zillow and even with a team? Like, why do you do that? So, for example, what we teach, and Robert, you're living proof of it, when you have open houses where you have 2, 3, 4, 586 is Robert's record at an open house in one weekend, well, why would you need to buy a Zillow lead or a Facebook lead when I'm face-to-face with a couple hundred people every weekend? We just have to understand, if we know that making money is through the listings, then that's where we should focus our effort. Yet we're so busy chasing all this other crazy stuff around, looking for the next shiny object that's going to make you wealthy and put you in a position where you're financially comfortable and all that other stuff. And guys, it's staring you right in the face. It's in listings.
You know what? You say something, listings is, and that's the key. I've always thought that as well, that you look around and the agents that are making the most money, that are growing their business to whole nother heights, are the listing agents. Because being a buyer agent, especially in today's market, it's a lot. It's a grind.
It's just math to me. So yeah. It's no more than math, right? So think of it this way. If you're watching this, for every buyer you work with, let's say you average about 40 hours working with them, right? That's showing them, bring them to closing. And so I think we're being pretty conservative, especially in today's market, because you're probably writing 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 offers before you get one accepted. But let's just work on the 40 hours. Well, in those same 40 hours, I can work with at least 5, more likely 7 listings. So the math is, do you want 5 closings or 1 closing? That's all there is to it. And so, again, if I'm going to spend the same 40 hours of time, how do I wring as much money out of those 40 hours as I can? Well, it's not working with buyers, and there's nothing against buyers. I actually do like working with buyers better, but it's not, this is business, right? And so I've just got to do the math. And if I want to become successful, I have to follow the blueprint. It's there. Guys, it's been there for decades and decades that the top agents in our business have always been listing agents.
With that
So
said, listing agents.
my question is, why do we keep focusing our agents away from listings, right?
Yep.
You don't find very much training out there in, say, listing presentations. Yet, if I'm going to focus on listings, shouldn't I do that?
That's right. With that said, Bob, you've created the Home Boss selling system,
Right.
a unique online offers platform that is, in my opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, this has taken the real estate market by storm nationwide.
It is.
Tell me about the Home Boss selling system.
So the question that everybody has to ask right now, real estate's changing at warp speed, right? iBuyers, discounters. As we record this today, Zillow bought Showing Time, right? Zillow's a real estate company now. So guess what? Those estimates that used to be a laughing stock, well, now they're not going to be laughing stock anymore because they're coming from MLS data, right? You got the open doors and offer pads. And here's my challenge to you. I don't care if you're in a small town watching this. I'll give you an example. My daughter's an agent in Wichita, Kansas. Go ahead and punch in discount realtors, Wichita, Kansas. And I'm working from memory now. I want to say it was 4.8 million search results in a metro area of about 300,000 people. Then go ahead and Google, sell my Wichita home for cash. I think it was 5.4 million search results. So you have all this competition. You have iBuyers, you have discounters, you have mega agents that are out there, right? You have all these hedge funds that are funding real estate companies like Open Doors, OfferPads, and even Zillow. Well, my question is, how are you going to compete with them? So when somebody says, well, hey, Robert, I'm just going to get a cash offer. What do you say? Well, the typical answer is, well, you're going to give up so much of your equity. Well, guess what, guys? Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow, they've adapted. They're actually giving pretty good offers. Now, they hide their fees and stuff, but at the end of the day, they're much more competitive now. And so you're, well, I don't want to do any of this hassle, so Open Door is going to charge me 7.5, and you're going to charge me 6. Man, for 1.5, it's worth me doing that. How do you answer that? Or Redfin at 1%, or like a Rex or Homey that's doing like $24.95. My question is, when somebody says, I'm just list with Rex at $24.95, what's your answer? You got really a couple of choices. You can move on, which is what I see in so many Facebook real estate groups. They just go, oh, bye, Felicia. Well, you just can't keep saying goodbye to listings that easily. You have to figure out how to adapt and be able to compete. And then a few years ago, if you remember, started seeing this whole litigation about sellers suing buyers, or sellers suing NAR and companies about the seller paying the buyer's commission. Well, about 2 months ago, NAR and the DOJ came to a realization on how to fix that. Well, how are you going to compete with that? Because now here's the deal, guys. The NAR is going to spend millions of dollars to advertise to the consumer that they can negotiate buyer commissions, because they're telling the buyers you're actually paying the commission in the form of a higher price. So when we created the Home Boss system, we just said, how do we deal with all that? So here's how it works. I can sell any home for the absolute highest market value. I can get it done in 14 days or less, and the seller pays no commission. How does that work? You just have to work differently, and we have to think outside the box. The truth is, guys, if you're watching that, I know you probably had a heart attack when I said zero commission, right? Robert, how much are you getting paid on all your listings?
Usually 6%, Bob.
6 to 8%.
Yep.
So we still get paid. It just happens differently. And here's the cool part. We're 100% congruent with what NAR and the DOJ just agreed as a settlement to make the process more transparent. And so for me now, when somebody goes, well, Bob, I'm going to sell it with Open Door and OfferPad, it's only 1.5%. It's like, well, it's not really 1.5%, because I can pretty much guarantee you that I will get you the highest market value possible. Now, there's some leeway in those words there, because, Robert, I know you know the answer, but if you're watching this, folks, who really determines market value? Is it me as an agent with my CMA or my comps, or the appraiser? I mean, the appraiser only figures out how much money the bank will loan. It's not the seller who goes, oh, Bob, I need $300,000. Well, the buyer doesn't care what you need. The only one who determines market value is the buyer. And in today's market, folks, if you need proof of it, here it is, right? 8, 10 offers driving prices up. Robert, I heard you say something the other day. You actually offered 105 more than the 105,000 more than the asking price, and you still got beat out.
Still got beat out.
It's unfathomable, right? Well, as a listing agent, how do we capitalize on it? So when I created the Home Boss system, that's what it was designed to do, to be able to take and solve those problems. So no matter what competition comes my way, go ahead and beat what I do. Can you sell a house and actually have a quantifiable way that you could show a seller, right? Don't tell them, how you can show them how you get the absolute highest price for their house, 14 days or less, and they pay no commission. I dare you to beat it.
And it's tough.
That's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, tough for agents to compete with that, I tell you that.
It is.
And I tell you, when I go on my listing appointments, all they need to do is show them a couple of success stories. And it's like, I mean, you've seen the videos I've sent you. It's literally, I have sellers going, the light bulb goes off, and all of a sudden she goes, if I would have known about this system a month ago, I would have told my sister about it. This is amazing. And once the sellers get it, it's like a light bulb goes off, and there's like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You just got to show.
Our agents in Southern California last week, had 71 offers on a property, ended up selling it for $41,000 more than the seller had hoped and prayed to get. And you may be going, well, what about the appraisal? Well, the cool part is nobody can write offers on our properties and give them to us online unless they're pre-approved. So we went to their lender, found out they do have the cash to bring in, and they were willing to sign an appraisal waiver, say we'll bring in the cash. 41,000 more.
That's what they're doing too. And that's
what they're doing.
Yep. And everybody always says, well, what if it doesn't appraise? What if it doesn't appraise in a traditional transaction?
Right.
You do the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it's a wonderful platform. What are 3 things that you would like to tell the folks, the agents watching this, about how the Home Boss selling system can help grow their business?
Well, first of all, if you focus on listings, here's how I teach agents. Focus on the listings. If you have 8 to 10 listings, and we do open houses on them, it's all we do. We don't even put lock boxes on the property. We do a 2-day open house. If you have 10 listings right now, could you do that on your own? So the answer is no. So we hire agents who sit our open houses. So let's just call it, 10. Typically, we need more than 1 agent per open house. So the reality of it is it's about 20. Their job simply is every other weekend, they sit in open house, and their job is to close a minimum of 2 transactions from that. We have what we call our 1 into 5 system, meaning for every listing we take, we want 5 additional deals. 5 buyers, 5 listings, 3 buyers, 2 listings. We don't care. Those agents' job are to get those other 5 deals. They pay us a referral fee, 25, 30% on all that business. Now, all the agent has to do is focus on taking more listings, let the other agents work with the buyers, and take a referral fee. Now, every listing, if you take 1 listing, turn it into 5, and you pick up 5 referral fees on top of that, plus don't forget, you're going to sell your listing. What's your cash flow look like now?
Game changer.
And that's the key.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
So Home Boss, more listings as a listing agent.
Right.
Home Boss, also by the bidding style platform, allows you to build your team organically. You're forced to build your team. You cannot humanly handle all that traffic. So if you do it right and leverage yourself, listings, leads, leverage. If you leverage yourself, you're going to grow your business whether you like it or not.
Right. And here's the next part. It's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. So I know agents out in the marketplace to this day, I want to wring their necks, I got to be honest with you, paying Zillow $40,000, $50,000 a month for leads.
Yeah.
If I have the listings and I can market these things in a way in which, again, a bigger market area like, San Diego's a pretty good sized market, you're not going to get 200 or 300 people in. If you're in a town of 25,000, you might get 50, 60 people in. Well, if you did that every weekend, why would you ever need to spend a penny on a lead? Let alone with a Zillow, who's now becoming a huge brokerage that is going to take over the business. So if I don't have to spend money on leads because I have people coming to me, all I have to do is then solve the third problem, which is figure out the answer to this question. And here's where it all starts. This is where Home Boss started in my mind. This is how I run businesses. It's how I consult with businesses. The question is very simple. Robert, if people come into an open house, why should they work with you versus any other agent that they can work with, even some who will rebate some of their commission back to them? Why should they work with you instead of another agent? It's the same question on the seller side. What is it that you offer that absolutely compels, keyword there being compels people to work with you instead of, let's say, I don't know, mega agent or a discounter or a iBuyer or their brother-in-law who's a relative who says, I'll sell it for you for free. What is it that you're going to say to compel people? And folks, if you're watching this, that's where it all starts. You have to figure out what the answer to that question is. Now, very rarely will people ask you that, but you just need to understand this. Sellers in today's market have options. They can be a FSBO. They could hire a mega agent, right? They can sell it for cash. They could hire their pick of agents, right? They probably have a relative. They could sell it to an iBuyer. The question is, when you go into a listing presentation, if your offering is, well, I'm going to charge you 6% commission, and, well, I could do it for 5%, well, guys, you're giving away your money. In the absence of value, you give up on price. So, oh my God, how would I compete with Rex at $24.95? My answer is, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why would you even pay $2,500 when you don't have to pay anything? And I know my stats. I know that we sell about 13% higher in Phoenix than Rex does on average. So I'm going to get you a better price. You're not even going to pay the $2,500, and I'm going to get it done fast. Our average market time, even in a market like this in Phoenix, is just short of 30 days. That's ridiculous in today's market. So you have to understand your competition. You have to know what they do, and then you have to answer the question, why you instead of them? And if you can't, you'll lose more listings and you'll lose more buyers than you'll get. You'll get lucky, but you got to answer those questions.
You know what? You brought up some great point. Your unique selling proposition. What is it? I go against listing agents all the time. There's 10, 15 agents competing for the same listing, and I get a chance to walk in there with the Home Boss selling system. That's my unique selling proposition. And I firmly believe this. As long as I'm in front of that client, I'm not going to lose that listing. I'll take any listing I want. It's just agents that are watching this need to understand, what is your unique selling proposition? If you don't have that, they need to reach out.
And here's the cool part. Once you understand, you could take a listing anytime you want. You also get to walk away from listings that don't fit your criteria, right? Maybe they're just so overpriced, there's nothing you're going to do. You got a house that's worth 400, and they go, I won't take less than 5. I hear it's a great market. I want 500. Guess what, guys? Nowhere in NAR, nowhere in your company, nowhere in real estate are you mandated by law to take a listing.
Yeah.
It's okay to walk away sometimes.
Yeah, and you need to.
Yeah. Do list properties that you can sell, right? For me, I don't want to list anything that's on a main street. I know that somebody will buy it, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack, or maybe their backyard is the freeway, or, I grew up in Chicago. You'd be shocked how many homes their backyard literally is a train, and if the train derails, it'd be like 6 feet from their bedroom. I don't want to list those properties. But when I know that I can list whenever I want, then I don't have to worry about walking away from something. Imagine that kind of control over your business, folks. What would that do for you mentally, psychologically, like how you would sleep, knowing that I don't have to think about cash flow?
Another thing I like to ask, Bob, is what would taking 10, 15, 20 plus listings on top of what you're already doing by using the system, being able to get in front of the for sale by owner, the expired, the FSBO expired, canceled, divorce, probate. I've never met a seller that didn't want to save money, and if giving you this system allows you to take more listings what does that look like if you take 10, 15, 20 more listings in that calendar year that you didn't already have the chance to take?
Yeah, if we just said calendar year.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, folks, well, just do the math on whatever the average price in your market. Just do 10 and be conservative,
Yeah.
right? But Robert will go out and take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a week. You know, I've got other agents to do 6, 7 a week. Had one that did 9 in 11 days. Now here's the dirty little secret on that, guys. That requires work. It's actually, you take 9 listings in 11 days. It's work.
A lot of work.
But guess what? In today's market, those things are gone in no time. You're getting the most amount of money. And then the cool part is when you can deliver an experience for people. Think of experience, right? So Robert's done it where he's been at their house, and as they watch the final offers coming in, and they've got food and beverage, and they're just having a good old time. Well, that's an experience that they're going to go to work the next day and tell their friends and their family and people that they work with about, oh, you should have seen how cool this was, and oh my God, we sold the house for that. Well, that's how you build referrals, right? How do you squeeze every dollar out of every minute that you spend? And that's the key to what we do. We have to think bigger. We have to think outside the box. We have to do things differently, right? Real estate's changing. If you're stuck in what we used to teach in like early 2000s or the early 1900s, you're going to be out of business. Yeah. And so we have a slide in one of the classes we do, and I think I actually got the graphic from Robert, and it's like, well, real estate agents don't like change. My answer is you're going to like being irrelevant a hell of a lot less.
It's one of my favorite.
It's just the way it is, folks. Yeah. It's changing so fast. If you aren't open-minded about it and say, hey, I've got to constantly adapt. I've got to constantly improve my skills. I still have agents to this day say, oh, I'm not technology driven. I don't know anything about technology. Folks, you better learn, because guess what? That's where the business is at.
Absolutely. And I think when you and I first met, I was technology challenged with like the best of them.
With the best of them, yeah.
Adapted. I think he called me Mr. Technology for a while there.
For a while.
But I've overcome and adapted and became very technology driven.
And not afraid of it, as evidenced here. We're sitting here doing these video interviews because he's not afraid of it.
Yeah.
And so, folks, I would challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. So I always say, people say, well, lazy people will never get rich. And while I might agree with that, what I'll tell you is the real answer is comfortable people will never get rich. The biggest impediment to people becoming wealthy is not that they're lazy, it's that they're comfortable. Yeah, I'd like to make $1 million a year, but oh my God, I'd have to work so much harder. What if I actually could build a system where your cash flow is $1 million, and if you decided 24 months later to walk away, you'd still make $1 million? So you're just thinking about the business wrong. Mm-hmm. And so when you close your mind to say, oh, well, it can't be this way or it can't be that way, life can be whatever it is that you want it to be. You just have to think differently. Yeah. And life begins outside your comfort zone.
You know what? Those are words to live by. I tell you what, it's you just got to get out there and make it happen. I mean, it takes a little bit of grind, but guess what? A little hard work for the next 6 months could change the next 5 years. It's just amazing the amount of tools out there. We talked about listings. We have the perfect listing presentation by one of our coaches. We have an amazing coaching staff.
He's amazing at doing the listing presentations.
Oh yeah,
he's way better than I am.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So the Home Boss Selling System. In closing, Bob, what would you like to tell if the agents that watch this that maybe didn't quite get it? What's the one thing you'd like to make them remember, or at least remind them in closing? What's that one thing you'd like to say to them?
So we didn't go into as much detail as we do in some of the training classes that we do, like the nuts and bolts, because everybody, well, how's it work and all that? Get with Robert, and he can get you to a class where we go through that. The real thing that I would challenge you to think about is, if you're not happy with your results, if you're not happy with how much money you're making, how many houses you're listing, etc., then you got to look in the mirror and go, what am I going to do differently? And you have to figure it out, or your results will not change. And so you'll have to get outside that comfort zone and learn different skills in different ways, and different ways to think about what our business really is. And so that's what I said, where it really all starts, folks, figure out what's your unique selling proposition. What is it that's going to compel people to list with you instead of all their other choices? And you've got to be able to answer that question. I just spent several years building the Home Boss system to be able to answer that, right? And so as the market trends, right, you could see 5 years ago, iBuyers were going to be a thing. And, when all this money starts coming into Wall Street, well, you could see that was a thing. And, well, discounters have always been there. So that's not new and unique, right? And then the biggest one, like 3 years ago when those lawsuits started coming in saying, hey, sellers are going, why would I pay a buyer's agent who's negotiating against me to take money out of my pocket at the closing table and I'm paying them? Well, I've been asking that question for 20 years in listing presentations, folks. And then I would just simply go, well, folks, if there was a better way where it didn't have to work like that, would you want to see it? And I built the Home Boss platform around that thought process and strategy, because you can only imagine when I ask people, I'm like, hey, I want you to think about this. The buyer's agent is going to come in and negotiate against you. It's their job. Legally, they're bound to do it. What that means is at the closing table, they are literally taking money out of your pocket. They had to get the best deal, price and terms for the buyer that came at your expense, yet you're paying them. Are you comfortable with that? And for years, folks, people go, wow, I never thought of it that way. But no, I'm not. Great. Would you be open to a different way? Mm-hmm. And I built this platform around that. And quite honestly, folks, as I seen these lawsuits coming in, I knew at some point things would change, and it couldn't have changed any better for the model that we've built, because NAR and DOJ are now saying, hey, the way these guys are doing it, they didn't come out and say Home Boss is awesome. I wish they did, but they didn't.
They will.
They want transparency, and they want very clear how we're getting paid, and we decided to do it in a way where we were way out in front saying, hey, you know what, we just choose to be transparent. You just got to do it in a way in which you're getting paid. So you can sit back and try and, think of all the different ways. Or if I was you watching this, I would get with Robert and say, all right, dude, how do I attend a training class and see what this is all about? That's what I would do. But
you know what? That's a great idea. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and attach the different webinars we have,
okay,
training webinars, to this link when I send it. You mentioned something, transparency.
Right.
That's something that lacks in this business. The Home Boss selling system is fully transparent. And because right now, when I write an offer, I'm submitting an offer, I'm submitting my PDF to the listing agent, me and 13, however many other buyers. There's no idea what everyone else came in at. And then they come back with a seller's multiple counter, highest and best. And I'm supposed to flip a coin and tell my client where they should come in at.
Right.
I don't know if I want that liability, number one, but number two, where do I tell them to come in at?
Right.
The Home Boss selling system, fully transparent bidding. Just elaborate just a little bit on that.
Hey, they basically watch the offers come in online. We have a deadline, right? So say Thursday at 7 p.m. The buyers, the sellers, all buyers that are interested can watch this process happen and change the offer on their price in real time. So here's the cool part. If you're tired of showing a buyer, 20 houses and writing 10 contracts on it, they actually can buy the house if they want it. Now they'll have to pay for it, but our job as a listing agent is to get the highest market value, right? So I've created a system where we can actually show people living proof of how it works and do that. By the way, if they don't get the price they want, the seller has the right to accept, reject, or negotiate any and all offers. So the seller has absolutely nothing to lose. So it's a pretty easy thing in a listing presentation. And here's another thing I want you guys to be aware of. And if you don't believe me, and I don't have the document up to share it with you, you can Google it. Go ahead and look for the court papers that NAR and the DOJ filed with the federal courts. And one of the things that you need to know is that one of the things that is now outlawed that will be against the law is for a buyer's agent to say, when the buyer goes, well, how do you get paid, Robert? Robert can no longer say, oh, don't worry, the seller pays me. You don't pay anything. NAR said, or the Department of Justice said, that's bunk. The way that the seller pays the commissions is they raise the price. And guess what NAR did? They go, we agree. That's how it works. So our system has been operating like that for almost 3 years, where we have a net price for the buyer, the commissions are added, and a contract is written. 100% transparent, real time. And that's why I said NAR and the DOJ, really more the DOJ because they went after NAR. The DOJ will love it because it's completely transparent. Everybody knows how much we make. See, the thing is, I don't know why agents are always afraid to let people know how much they make, right? So does anybody, I won't, because obviously this is a video, but when I do this in live classes, I've never had anybody answer this question for me. Why do we get paid 5, 6, 7%? Like, why do we get paid so much money for what we do? The answer is because we absorb their liability, whether we're the buyer's agent or the listing agent. Are you willing to accept all this liability for like a $2,500 flat fee like Rex? I'm not. If you do, that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's why we get paid what we get paid. So why are we embarrassed to tell people how much we get paid? I'm not. I do a great job for my sellers. I put more money in their pocket for them. Why would I be embarrassed to share with them what I get paid?
So you know what? I tell you what, this has been just amazing. What's funny is I love listening to you and explain how this process works because, you know, we do a lot of coaching our agents and we're training them. We spend a lot of time with our agents and training them, walking through this process, not only through the training webinars, but through live coaching hours. We spend a lot of time going over training our agents exactly how to use the system. And what's funny is as I'm listening to you, I'm sitting here writing notes down because I seriously, every single time I talk to you, I learn something new. So
and you probably know it, other than me, you probably know it better than anybody else.
Well, you know what? I took your platform and I went out there and did everything I could to listen to what you told me to do, and I went out and did it. And I'm having massive success with this system, and I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of it. And I tell you what, in closing, Bob, and first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on because
always my pleasure.
I could go on. We could talk for hours about the Home Boss selling system. I love it. But in closing, what would you like to say in closing? I know we wanted just one thing. What do you want to say to the agent? And we'll say goodbye today.
Stay out in front of what's going on, folks. Things are changing at warp speed, and we get paid for what we know, right? And make sure that you're educating yourself. So even though, yes, I know we're in this whole pandemic thing, you can still do live things, and I do a lot of Zoom things. Folks, I would tell you probably less than 5% of the agents know anything about what NAR got sued for and what they agreed to do and how it will impact them. Guys, that's part of our business. You have to stay engaged. So I coach people on something I call 10, 10, 20, and 4. Spend 10 hours a week learning, right? 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Learn. Spend 10 hours a week figuring out who you're going to talk to, right? Your prospecting, your lead generation. Put your systems in place to have people to talk to. Spend 20 hours a week talking to those people. In 4 hours building your business, building your empire, so you can sit back and look at, how do I take and make this a duplicatable process? How do I get as much money from every transaction as I possibly can? How do I maximize every minute of my workday to make it as profitable as possible? And treat the thing like a business, because it is a business.
Yeah.
So you, in my opinion, you either have a real estate job or you have a real estate business. Here's how it works. If you're worried about where your next deal's coming from, or you're not sure how you pay your next mortgage, or you're going, wow, I got 2 or 3 months in reserve, so even if I had a bad month, I'd be able to pay the bills, you just need to know you have a real estate job. If you have a real estate business, you can go away for 2 months and your income isn't affected whatsoever. I teach agents how to build real estate businesses. I don't want any part of doing a real estate job. So start to think about it like it's a business, right? When I tell agents, oh, let me look at your business plan. You know, they look at me like I have leprosy. Like, what? Business plan? I don't do business plan. I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You're right. You have a real estate job.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Well, you know what? That was huge. What a great, just a great interview. And I appreciate your time so much. And we'll end it there. I'm sure we'll have part 2, part 3, and part many. But that's Bob Mangold, the creator of the Home Boss Selling System. This is Robert Weichelt with EXP for another episode of Weichelt Wednesday. Bob, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, folks.
We will go ahead.
Hope at least I spurred some thought in your minds anyway, right? You can do with it whatever you want, but hopefully it gave you some things to think about.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. See you.